Just gonna do a quick evening. I'm just doing a quick video on grief and loss. It's interesting because we all have to die one day, and we all have to lose those who are closest to us one day. And if you haven't gone through grief or loss of, someone that you loved dearly, whether it was your family or like a friend, I just want to say it's really hard. It's very difficult. And the only way I think you can get through it is just to get through it, like it's yeah, it's just one of those things that you have to just get through in time, and I don't know how else to put it besides that. Like, you can take care of yourself as much as you can and get the nutrients and stuff, and people can tell you how they want you to start grieving. Like, people will tell you have to do this, you have to do that, and they're trying to dictate your grief. And a lot of people do it because they're loving and they don't know how to just sit with you and be present in like your like how you're doing in your present moment. And that's okay, because not everyone understands like the mental health field, and like grief is a category of a mental health state. And but people can tell you a lot of stuff to do, and you still can only do it when you're ready. Like, you're going to get up when you feel ready, because if you have people over at your apartment or wherever you live, or your house, and you have things to live for, like, energetically you still can be a little bit depleted if you're not ready. Your energy will not rise until you're ready, and it could take a really long time. It could be like a few days you're okay, a month you're okay, like a year, but you have to allow yourself to be part of that process. And this 2021 season, 2020, during COVID, where we've lost so many people, and and not just from COVID, like the things that I've lost, the things that I see people around me that have lost. I mean, it's very difficult, but it's also natural. That's the funny thing. Like, and I remember when I was doing grief counseling classes, because my social work stuff that I learned, my teacher, who was so good at teaching us counseling, said, you have to allow people to just be as they are. And if you're going through grief, you have to allow yourself to be how you're going to be. You have to just sit with someone and hold their hand, because they will tell you what they need. And a lot of people want to talk about their grief. A lot of people want to talk about it because some people aren't talking to them. And you have to learn to suppress your own ego when it comes to dealing with someone who's grieving, even if you have your own grief. Because grief can be very triggering if you see someone that you love and then you're catering to them and trying to cater to yourself. But it's just it's a very interesting process. And as I'm sitting here looking at the trees, that I'm in Chicago, and the trees are falling and the leaves are falling, like it's hard to see them go. It's hard to see the leaves go. Because you're never ready, for the leaves to go. Of course, I'm speaking in a metaphor now. But eventually, spring is going to come, and summer is going to come, and the leaves are going to be back in their full glory. So, if you're grieving right now, I know a lot of my friends are grieving, and I'm grieving really hard. Um, give yourself time until your spring comes, because you don't know when it's going to come. Like in Chicago, we know spring comes in like April-ish, but we don't know exactly when spring is going to officially come, when the weather is going to change. And that's when the weather's ready, when the trees are ready. So give yourself time to be in your winter season, like give other people their time to be in their winter season. Don't rush the winter for others. Let them be okay. Let them be sad. Like, let them be okay. Let them do this. And let yourself be as you're supposed to be, because you're experiencing a death. Like, you're experiencing a death, but the renewal's going to come. But sometimes we rush people's grief to make sure that they're okay. Like, we want so badly sometimes. Like, and I learned this, I think that I always was able to just kind of sit with people in their grief because I experienced grief from so young that I understood that you can't be okay in every moment. Like, and other people can't be okay just because you're hovering over them. So that means that like, even though many humans are so like naturally want to help people instead of being present in a person's grief, sometimes people aren't okay and you just have to let them not be okay, and when they're ready, their spring will come, when their summer will come. They'll wake up one day and they'll feel like drinking a little bit more water. Like, I'm trying to think of the things that I always recommend that people ask me to do. And, the loss of my grandmother recently, my mother, she was the one who raised me. Like, that's the thing. I can't speak too much about this because I think that it would anger one of my family members or my relatives, and I'm trying to be on good terms with them, but my grandparents were my parents. They were the ones that were there. Like, they were the ones that parented me. They are the ones that adopted me. And so, losing grandpa, my dad, that I did call my dad, actually, I called him dad for a long time. Losing him, 5 weeks gone, 2 years ago, and then my grandmother just yesterday, it seems, which it was 3 weeks ago at this point. Or was it 2 weeks ago? It's hard to see your parents go. It's hard to see them go because for me, it's like, well, I don't feel alone. I don't think I feel there's just a part of you that's missing. Like, and that part hurts. Like, and so people that are grieving, I know that it's really difficult for you to have lost a part of yourself, such a significant part of yourself. This isn't a sob thing where I need, pity or anything like that, but I just want to say that grief is really, really hard. And to give yourself grace and love in this time where sometimes you'll be really good. And then sometimes, like, it will hit you like a wave, especially if you've just experienced it or you just keep experiencing it and you're like drowning. Like, that's how I felt over the past like 2 years, where I'm like drowning because there's just been so much loss. Give yourself grace, and if you see someone that's grieving, let them just be in their grief. Like, it's not your job to comfort, or it's your job to just be present. Because a person will tell you when they're ready to get out of their winter season and spring forth and bring the newness back into their life. Everyone's different. Like, your grief is not the same as another. Their grief isn't the same as yours. Like, your relationship with the person you're grieving is not the same. There are a lot of factors. But grief is fucking hard. It's really hard. It's hard to lose people that unconditionally loved you and that sacrificed so much for you. So, to anyone who's grieving and who's hurting deeply, in the sense that I feel, one day the trees are going to blossom and give you the leaves and flowers. And you're going to be grateful for the time you had with the people that you've lost. Take care of yourself.